Good morning, everyone. I'm Kim Gusby. Thank you for joining us for a special edition of WSAV News 3 Today. In our top story this morning, disgraced former South Carolina attorney Alec Murdaugh will spend the rest of his life in prison. He was just sentenced in Colleton County in the last hour for murdering his wife Maggie and son Paul. Murdaugh himself maintained his innocence before that sentence from Judge Clifton Newman.
I'm innocent. I would never hurt my wife Maggie, and I would never hurt my son Paul.
In the murder of your wife Maggie Murdaugh, I sentence you for the term of the rest of your natural life. For the murder of Paul Murdaugh, whom you probably loved so much, I sentence you to prison for murdering him for the rest of your natural life.
Our Andrew Davis joins us now live from Walterboro. He was in the courtroom as that guilty verdict came down last night and the life sentence this morning. Andrew, good morning. Now bring us up to speed what has happened so far. Good morning.
It was a very quick proceeding. Good morning, Kim. On this one, I was shocked. I don't know. We've got a legal expert who's going to give me a little bit more information, but I was surprised. It took less than a half hour, basically, for them to get in court, to have Alec there, and to go ahead and sentence him. No one spoke on either side of this case for Alec to get out of jail at any point in time or against him in any form. The only person who spoke was Prosecutor Creighton Waters on this. I'd like to turn over to Joe McCullough, who's our legal expert. Joe, we didn't get to talk to you last night when the verdict came down. Was what happened to, let's start there, your reaction to the verdict itself?
Well, I was, as a supposed pundit, I was pretty wrong because I went back to Columbia expecting to come back this morning and spend the day waiting. I was shocked, amazed, whatever, by that quick a verdict, and apparently, according to a juror who spoke this morning, they had a verdict at 45 minutes in and spent the rest of the time, I don't know, whatever.
28 days to have a verdict 45 minutes?
Pretty shocking, and I think it's indicative of maybe two things. The kennel video is just a mountain too high to climb, required Alec to testify. He apparently did not do as credible a job as many of us thought because he didn't impress the jurors, and I think there's a little generational payback here. Maybe this jury felt that the Murdaughs had had their day, that sun had set, and it's time to put a big foot on them.
And even Alec himself in this case did not speak, did other than just a few words. We want to hear exactly to show you what Alec said in court.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm innocent. I would never hurt my wife Maggie, and I would never hurt my son Paul.
Well, Joe, I'll tell you, I guess that's all you can see at this point is that I wouldn't hurt Maggie, I wouldn't hurt Paul. That's all he said.
Well, or nothing, but that only seemed to push this judge into that interesting colloquy. The judge tried twice, offering him the opportunity to show some remorse, the opportunity to fess up, and it was not in him. And frankly, his lawyers would have advised him, we have an appeal, there's nothing in it for you. He's not going to give you a less than 2 life sentences consecutively, no matter what you say.
You've been in that position from a defense side. What do you say to your client? What do you say to their family when something like that goes on?
When you're convicted?
When you're convicted.
I've stood beside people who get the death sentence. There's not much to say except you want to feel like you've done everything you can. You want to tell the family, we took our best shot, and a jury just didn't buy Alec Murdaugh's testimony.
Creighton Waters and Alan Wilson, the Attorney General, kind of did their victory lap in part last night. Creighton came back out today and had one more statement, or a few statements, to the judge directly too. Let's hear exactly what he had to say.
I've looked in his eyes, and he liked to stare me down as he would walk by me during this trial. And I could see the real Alex Murdaugh, when he looked at me. The depravity, the callousness, the selfishness of these crimes are stunning. The lack of remorse and the effortless way in which he lies, including here, sitting right over there in this witness stand.
Because we talked about this during closing and during various parts of the trial. That was a better statement that Creighton Waters made than during much of his closing argument.
Well, I was firmly convinced he was setting that up to be his closing argument, but he made a good, solid, credible closing. I'm not so sure that he needed a closing at all in this jury's mind, based on what we now know. I think he could have gotten up and recited the "Oh, what a tangled web we weave" poem and sat down. The jury's verdict in 3 hours tells you everything you need to know about where they were in this case. They just did not believe the big lie.
Judge Newman, long speech himself, much longer than Creighton, much longer than anybody in this court today. What did you think of what he had to say?
Well, I think Judge Newman, it appeared to me throughout the trial, was felt that guilty was the likely verdict. I think he's been running over in his mind what he would say. He made some powerful remarks. Wasn't surprised by them. He's an experienced judge with a lot of murder convictions and sentencings behind him, so he's not bashful. I thought it was interesting to see him try to get Alec to confess.
Yeah, and he didn't get him to confess, obviously. So also having the jurors there, 11 of the 12 jurors actually came back for sentencing itself. I got a chance to talk to a little bit about them. I didn't dig too deep, obviously, because they're in there. They said they were so focused on testimony, they didn't even notice the rest of the court. True or not, I'm not sure. But to have 11 of the 12 come back to listen to this sentencing seems surprising to me.
Well, I think with the investment they had, I had a chance to talk with them as well, and I said, gee, you guys must feel like you've been kidnapped for 6 weeks, and they laughed. But they did want to come back. They wanted to see the end product of their work, and you know, if the egg lady had made it to this final to the final jury room moments, we might be having a different conversation today.
Yeah, the woman who was dismissed at the last second there, who said she felt that Alec was innocent, told her friends that, brought a dozen eggs for everybody, weirdly enough there. So very interesting to see. This has been a long haul. Joe, thank you so much for everything that you've done so far. We may not be done with you. We were hoping to get you back for 5:30 tonight. The trial of Alec Murdaugh, Endgame, is full special in conjunction with WCBD. Tonight at 5:30, we'll wrap the whole day up, as well as this whole trial up, and tell you exactly what happened, maybe why it happened as well. In Weltsboro, Andrew Davis, WSAV News 3 on your side.
Interesting is an understatement. Thank you, Andrew. We will continue our coverage on WSAV.com this afternoon. Starting with First News at 4, we will have a full half-hour special, as Andrew mentioned, with our sister station, WCBD, Murdaugh Murders Endgame, tonight at 5:30. You can also find our extensive coverage of the entire Murdaugh saga from the beginning of the case to the end of the trial on our website at WSAV.com/Murdaugh. Coming up later tonight, an all-new 2-hour Dateline will feature the latest in the Murdaugh murder trial. Insiders close to the family speak out for the first time to NBC News' Craig Melvin. That airs tonight at 9 o'clock, right here on WSAV.